I mean, if time permits, if you are interested in all those things, because traveling 1 hour for a 1 hour class is not fruitful. Okay, at the same time, the personal impact will always be different than a Zoom class. So it won't be same, right? Like hearing my voice in a Zoom class is one thing, sitting in the classroom is a whole different thing. So even as a teacher, I feel that I create more impact when I see on face-to-face basis, right? So so you should have multiple utilities. So that is what I'm trying to tell you. We haven't met in a while. There are a lot of topics to cover, especially the economic survey and budget, the most important things. And there are some articles related to the hijab issue, yes, and the OBC reservation issue. So there are quite a number of topics which we can cover. So first we'll try to see the utility of economic survey and budget. And it is highly recommended that you don't go through the line by line of the 400-page document. Don't waste your time. Contrary to whatever people say, PIB summary of budget and survey is more than enough for prelims. Okay, why? You will read the summaries, then you will do mocks. Okay, in mocks, everything will be covered. 6 or 7 hours of videos are also totally useless. Okay, they will just reproduce whatever is already said. So it's not at all recommended. Summary is more than enough. Within summary, the technical terms are more important. Okay, for example, everybody is talking about that cryptocurrency. 30% tax is there on cryptocurrency. But UPSC will ask you a simple question: what is capital gains tax? Okay, so your static is more important. Application of your static knowledge is more important, because directly they won't ask you what is CBDC, right? Or what is blockchain. All these questions are already done. CBDC we have discussed way before all these announcements came, right? So CBDC or blockchain technology is not going to be a game changer, but what is going to be a game changer is, for example, what are surety bonds? Okay, what is transit oriented development? So the technical terms or application of knowledge is more important rather than what is directly mentioned in the budget or survey. For example, how many of you know what is the official fiscal deficit announced in the budget this year? What is the percentage of GDP of fiscal deficit that Nirmala Sitharaman has announced? Yes, 6.8. 6.8 or 6.9? So the simplest detail that you need to know what is fiscal deficit. So when you listen to the budget, you need to have an understanding, right? So as a fresher, you have no idea how to look at the budget, how to look at the survey. There is a lot of hangama in the market and all those things. So 3 things. First, before budget, okay, the context. What kind of situation is Indian economy is in? Okay, then how budget is addressing this, or what is budget doing, and then where are we headed? Where are we headed? Okay, so in which background is Indian government creating a budget? Okay, in which background are we creating such thought process? Then how budget helps India, and where are we headed? Okay, these 3 are the important things you need to understand. Now, all of you know is a capex budget. What is capex? Capital expenditure based budget. Now, when you hear capital expenditure, you will also recollect revenue expenditure. Okay, you will also hear revenue expenditure. So obviously all of you are having a basic idea of what is capital expenditure, what is revenue expenditure. Now, tell me 2 examples of revenue expenditure.
Salaries of employees.
Pension, very good.
Also, day-to-day.
Subsidies to agriculture. Yes, Narega. All government, central sponsored schemes and all these things are more or less revenue expenditures of money on revenue expenditure. Interest payments again have capital and revenue in nature, but okay, majorly it's a revenue expenditure. Income in interest is a revenue expenditure. Okay, now what is so special about capital expenditure that is different from revenue expenditure? Why government is spending more on capital expenditure than revenue expenditure? What is the first thing that should come to your mind?
It creates a long-term impact. And
Capital formation, gross capital formation.
Gross capital formation. No? It creates long-term capital. That is what you are saying. Like
bridges,
Infrastructure.
roads,
infrastructure. What is social infrastructure?
schools, hospitals.
Hospitals, schools, roads, dams. What will happen because of this?
Upliftment from poverty.
Mhm. So Narega is also doing the same, right?
So it is not
It creates
regenerating the
demand.
revenue. The regeneration of revenue is not there.
Regeneration of the. See, remember the term is multiplier effect. Multiplier effect. According to RBI 2019 data, that is subjective again. If government spends 1 rupee in revenue expenditure, okay, it is going to get 45 paisa. For every rupee revenue expenditure. Whereas according to the same RBI report, if you SBI report, if you spend the same money in capital expenditure, the multiplier effect is 3.15%. According to Nirmala Sitharaman, this time she said that it is around 2.95%. Okay, I don't know how they came to that particular conclusion, but the logic is 2.95%. That means for every rupee spent, government is going to get around 3 rupees. So this time we are willing to spend 7.5 lakh rupees on capital expenditure. So 3 times or 4 times the effect will be created. And not only that, the multiplier effect will be higher. For example, as you said, if I start a highway will have a lot of people employed and they will contribute to the economy, and that will create demand in the economy. Like this, like a throwing a stone in the pond, it will have ripple effects. So not only this 2.95% multiplier effect will have a huge amount of multiplier effect. So that is how government is planning to go ahead, right? So that is a specialty of this particular budget, that we are going for long term. Now, why long term? The Amrit Kal, as Prime Minister have mentioned, the 25 years of Amrit Kal till 2047, 100 years of Indian independence. But majorly, Amrit Kal can also be seen as reaping of demographic dividend. Till 2040-45, we have the chance of getting demographic dividend. So this is a high time that India starts investing in what? Capital expenditure. But if you see the other side of the coin also, okay, what we call as return of income. That means every rupee I spend on sanitization, okay, every rupee I spend on health, every rupee I spend on health, education, it will get me 10, 20, 30 rupees wapas. Okay, that is return of income. That means if I am helping someone to stop smoking, okay, every rupee spent on promoting non-smoking, okay, that might get me 16, 17 rupees back. Yes, so revenue expenditure cannot be calculated in a proper multiplier effect, because if a girl is educated, or if there is a government hospital bed, functioning government hospital bed, we cannot calculate that in monetary terms. That is welfare. Okay, so but the problem is, most of the times we look at only the union budget. Okay, after the budget, what is the common thing you have seen? Many articles came that saying, government is not focusing on agriculture, health, education, so on and so forth. But if you logically think about it, all of them are state subjects. Okay, at the end of the day, implementation has to be done at state level. Okay, see, health budget and health expenditure are two things. What is the difference? Health budget and health expenditure. Just think about it. Central government is spending around 1.5 to 2% of GDP on health. Okay, people are not happy with it. They want to spend 5-6% on health. Okay, so 2% of Indian GDP is spent on health as a budget, health budget, but that counts only to 8% of health expenditure. Did you get that logic? Listen very carefully, not a rocket science. I will explain to you. Government of India, central government of India is spending 2% of Indian GDP, okay, as a budget. Okay, that is just 8% of overall spending.
Spending on health.
Health.
Got it.
So you got the logic, right?
Yes.
That means state governments are spending, out of pocket expenditure is being spent, civil societies are spending. So all these people are also investing in health. All these people are also spending money. So if 100 rupees is spent in health in India, the entire union spending is only equivalent to 8%. That means 92% is happening in state level or at individual level. Central government has nothing to do with it. So that means who should work efficiently? State governments. Yes or no? If states are implementing the budgets properly, if states are improving the infrastructure, quality of everything, automatically the health will improve. If there are better sanitations, better dengue, malaria control and all those things, people won't come to government hospitals. Not spending money is also earning money. Yes or no? So this is not happening at the state level. Okay, Ayushman Bharat, there are a lot of schemes, central sponsored schemes, central sector schemes. Okay, government is spending around 25% of every rupee on such things. Where rupee comes, where rupee goes. Do you know that? Have you seen it? If you see where rupee goes, central sector schemes take 15 paisa. Central sponsored schemes takes 9 paisa. That means every rupee that Indian government is spending, 23 paisa is going only through central sector schemes and central sponsored schemes. In spite of that, health is not improving, education is not improving. Who is to blame? Again, I will personally blame the entire administration machinery. Yes or no? You are pumping in such a huge amount of money and the returns are not coming out. Just imagine 39 lakh crores is being spent by the government in budget. 39.5 lakhs technically. Okay, so 39 lakh crores you are spending. Okay, out of this, you are spending a good amount of money on central sector schemes and central sponsored schemes, right? But the outcome is not good. Why people are against Narega? Because Narega is a white elephant. No matter how much amount of money I am pouring on it, Narega is not coming back. I mean, nothing is coming out of Narega. So that is a perception that people have developed and we cannot. Yes. So what government has done is it is fed up with all this revenue expenditure. No matter how much I pour onto agriculture, health, education, and so on and so forth, the development is not happening at a rapid level. Why? The long-term view is social capital, human capital, skilled labor, overall development. That is a Chinese strategy. You have to invest in the humans, improve their health, the living standards, quality of life, so on and so forth. They will contribute to the economy will grow. This is supposed to happen already. By 2020, you are supposed to be, in that position. Even in 2022, if you are still talking about roti, kapda or makan, garibi hatao. Right? So what they thought is, instead of talking about this sector of the economy, if you make the cake bigger, by spending huge amount of money on capital infrastructure, automatically people will make more money. That money will somehow go to health, education, and all these things. Clear? So that is the initial thought process of the government. Clear? So Again, we will try to use the same government document to understand the budget. All right. So if you read the entire budget document also, Nirmala Sitharaman's speech has been bifurcated into 4 equal pillars. Okay, 4 pillars, and she is talking about a lot of things. Okay, and no government in the right word, right brain cannot use this word inclusive welfare. All of us want the cake to be bigger. Yes or no? We want it to be inclusive. We want it to be sustainable. So it should be inclusive and it should be sustainable. That is how Indian growth should be. So from 11th 5-year plan, we have seen this faster, sustainable and inclusive growth. Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, Sabka Vishwas. So nothing new in the inclusive part. Okay, but how are we going to do that? We are moving away from license quota, permit raj, micromanagements. All of you know license quota, permit raj, right?
Yes.
That means we will give you permission, we will give you license, only then you have to grow, you have to do this, you have to do that. So instead of pinpointedly saying do this, do that, what government now is focusing is on ecosystems. Promotion of technology enabled development, energy transition and climate change. Okay. So that means we are going to create a ecosystem. All of you understand? Okay, the best example are abolishment of CES, special economic zones. Okay, what are special economic zones? They are dedicatedly created to promote exports. Okay, now what government is doing is they are abolishing the special economic zone and they are creating a atmosphere where central government, state government and private players will create hubs with plug and play. Plug and play. What is plug and play? Earlier, if you remember, if you buy a computer or anything, you put a mouse, then you have to install the drivers using a CD, only then it will work. Yes or no? Now, in the recent times, if you have purchased anything, you just put something and automatically it will start working. Within seconds, your mouse will start working. Plug and play. It's a convenience for the customer. That means, imagine this as a special economic zone. Okay, I have already laid loads. Electricity is there, water connection is there, everything is there. Even an airport is there. I mean, connection to the airport or seaport or whatever is there. Everything that you need is already there. All you need to do is come and set up a company. For example, near Visakhapatnam, if I create a special economic zone, it is directly having a special highway and a railway track to Visakhapatnam port. Okay, that means if I produce goods, I don't even have to think how to transport it to Visakhapatnam port. Already the mechanism is there. Plug and play. You come, you set up, you export. Okay, so if I create such plug and play ecosystems, I don't know who is going to come or which company will come and how they will use it. But I am creating that atmosphere. You understand the logic, right? Okay. In the same way, they have also decided to promote something about electric vehicles, battery swap. So why battery swap is important? What is battery swap?
On the way, you can just exchange the batteries and just.
What is battery swap? You must have heard about it, right? Battery swap in the budget. No?
Yes, sir.
Okay, again here, government is not focusing specifically on one part of electric vehicles. It wants to promote electric vehicles. Why it wants to promote electric vehicles? See, the most important component of electric vehicles is battery. Okay, so on an average,
Audio is not clear for no, sir. It's not at all problem with us. It is poor internet.
okay,
So to hear your voice, she wants to be on call. So
Okay,
I will
okay.
just play.
fine. Okay, so let's imagine the average distance that an electric vehicle can travel from your home is 200 to 400 kilometers. Okay, with the existing models, right? So most people are not purchasing electric vehicles. Why? Because there is a limitation that I cannot travel beyond a particular point. If I go there, I may or may not have a charging dock. So people are not motivated to buy electric vehicles for out of the station transportation purposes. If somebody is have to do is create electric vehicle charging stations, just like petrol bunks, or promote battery swap. Battery swap is just like taking your bike or car to a petrol station. You go there, you park your electric vehicle, your existing battery will be removed and it will be replaced with a new battery. It's a 10 minutes work. Slowly, time will come down, but with, the best in the world as of now is in China. I think some company, Neo company. Okay, so they have a 10-minute docking station. That means you just park it, within 10 minutes your battery will be swapped with the new battery available. Okay, so then this will go away. No matter where I go, I just go, I pick up an old battery, put it there, take a new battery and put it in my bike, and I keep on traveling. So if these docking stations are everywhere throughout my route, okay, it doesn't stop me from traveling. Okay, so how does this help in the overall ecosystem? First, I have to remove the barrier for you to purchase the electric vehicle. Then because you are purchasing the electric vehicle, automatically more and more people will buy electric vehicles. More battery swapping stations will come automatically. More mechanics will come, more companies will come, everything more. So the very first step I have to do is to remove that barrier for you to purchase the electric vehicle. Everything else will automatically follow the electric vehicle. Yes or no? So it's like creating an ecosystem. Is government saying promote electric vehicles only? No, all it is doing is removing that barriers to adoption of electric vehicles. This will solve a lot of problems like pollution. Yes, this will also create a lot of employment. It will also attract a lot of foreign direct investment, a lot of companies, a lot of startups, a lot of employment within India, manufacturing, the entire chain.
Reduce the dependence on fossil fuel.
Yes, exactly. Dependency on fossil fuel will be coming down, right? E-waste will increase, but okay, fine. Only positives today. Yes, a lot of ecosystems will be created, but for all these things to happen automatically, government is creating that ecosystems. So that is how they are targeting this time, right? Instead of pinpointedly saying do this, do that, they want to create that ecosystem where people will automatically take care of everything. Or else government would come and government will set up electric vehicle battery, old style. Government will give electric battery for subsidy. You'll purchase, that may or may not work. But now, if I encourage private sector, they will do the marketing, they will do everything. They will also export. Probably India will become that electric vehicle hero of the world, where we will develop to the developing and least developed nations. So we might capture Africa, Latin American countries. Ola bikes might be very popular in Brazil, right? A lot of things can happen. All theory. Okay, so all theory. Just remember that much. Okay. Here also one more concept is convergence. What is convergence?
Where all the ministries work in tandem.
Exactly. So that is called as whole of government approach. Okay, whole of government approach. Okay. For me to promote exports, okay, I need to do Sagarmala. At the same time, I also need to do national highways and railways. That means if this is a port, okay, I have to connect it to multiple zones through multiple ways. For some, I have to lay a railway track. For some, I have to lay a highway. For some, I have to lay a quadrilateral, only dedicated highways for movement of freight goods. So like this, if I do all these things, that means everybody should come together. As I have just told you, to promote health, just constructing toilets won't do. I have to maintain the toilets also, solid waste management. So to reduce the burden on health, I have to improve in governance. I have to improve in administration. Like this, whole of government will come together and work for Gati Shakti. So Gati Shakti will promote a lot of economic activity, inclusive development. All of you know there are tons and tons of schemes, right? This I just explained to you what is ecosystem, and the most important thing is sunrise industries, electric vehicles, solar panels, drones, whatever you take, all the new upcoming technologies are there. Everything is sunrise technology. Sunrise means
There is a lot of unrealized potential.
it's just starting now. So it's a beginning industry. It's a beginner industry. There is a ton and tons of potential to explore this area. So infrastructure, human development, what we call as living standards. Okay. Then ecosystems, and lastly, the most important thing, the petrol for all these activities. For all these things to happen, we need a fuel. What is a fuel?
Investment.
Money. So where is that money going to come from?
Capital investment.
In
Or-
theory, that is where the 7.5 lakh crores come into the picture. Okay. Crowding in effect has to be brought in. So we all know crowding out. Now crowding in has to be brought out. What is crowding out? Crowding out means if government is borrowing a lot of money, yes, it will increase the cost of borrowing, and investors will be forced to borrow less amount of money for higher amount of interest. Crowding out. Now what is crowding in? Crowding in is nothing but the Keynesian economics. All of you remember John Maynard Keynes, right? What does he say? If the economy is not in full glow, full boom, automatically government should start spending money. So Gati Shakti will be spent, right? Government will pump in a lot of money into infrastructure that will attract private partnership. Okay. So once economic activity starts in the economy, automatically everybody will join the party. So, but who should start the party? Government. Yes or no? So in reality, this is fantastic, this is fantastic, this is fantastic. Okay. Problem comes in financing of investment. We are putting a lot of faith in hope, if and buts. Okay. Cello, let's assume even this will work. That foreign direct investment will come, or private sector will start spending money, economic activity will take place. But I personally feel the problem that is administration has not been addressed. Administrative reforms are not even addressed. Okay. So it's like, the same analogy. Your bike will give you 30 kilometers per liter. You have to travel 300 kilometers. Okay. How many liters of petrol do you need? 10 liters of petrol. Common sense. Yes. So there is one more bike which will give 100 kilometers per liter. How many liters are needed? 3 liters. So why am I changing my bike from 30 liters to 100 liters? It's available, right? If some private company is doing something with 3 liters, why is government willing to spend 10 liters? Why is the wastage of extra 7 liters? Yes. So that is something that efficiency and effectiveness is not being addressed in the administration. So now we are happy that this government came and is willing to pour 10 liters into economy. 10 liters in my opinion is 7.5 lakhs. Okay. Reforms to not waste money on revenue expenditure or populist schemes or mindless schemes, and willing to invest in capital expenditure, but it is investing in a bike which is only giving 30 liters per kilometer. Okay. If just imagine I can spend 10 liters on this, I can travel 1000 kilometers. Yes or no? So that is what India should be aiming for, that efficiency and effectiveness. Clear? Simple logic. But again, people will not agree because government is doing fine. Again, I won't blame central government alone. the efficiency problem starts at without states, India cannot grow. Without districts, states cannot grow. That is our continuous argument throughout the last 1 year. So where is inefficiency? At state and district level. That administration is not being reformed. Nobody actually bothers. It is filled with nepotism. It is filled with inefficient people. It is filled with inefficient administration. No reforms are being done at the grassroots level. As long as we don't do that, even if the top is brilliant, you are selected into UPSC, you are the most brilliant aspirant. Okay, so you are spending 10 years of your efficient life trying to improve the system. You will do the top-down approach, but the problem is at bottom. What will you do? You bring the best of the scheme. You say government has to improve in electric vehicles, do this, do that, do that. Okay, but all the contracts are going to the state chief minister, his brother-in-law, and his sister-in-law. The nepotism, the corruption is there. The spillover effects won't happen, right? The grassroots level efficiency won't improve and increase. So this you can also link to the recent debate between state governments and central government regarding IAS transfers. Okay, see, IAS, all civil servants who are selected through UPS are brilliant people. They have the capacity, they have the talent. But after selecting such brilliant people, you are not asking them to do anything brilliant. You are reducing their brilliancy to mediocre. Instead of raising the system to their level, you are dragging the system to, you are dragging them to the system's level. Yes, so that is where our problem lies. Again, this is purely administration topic. Why? Because budget is not only economic document, it is a policy document. It is a policy vision of the government. There is a very good bad question, right? Is budget a political tool or an economic tool? Okay, is budget a political tool or a economic tool? It's an it's a political tool in the shape of economy. Yes or no? I'm using rupee as a policy statement. If I am spending more money on Narega, I am telling to the farmers and the rural population, I care for you more. Okay, but if I am spending it on capital expenditure, am I saying that I don't care? No, I'm saying that I'm using utilitarian approach, that I'm focusing more on the greater good. The maximum happiness comes from capital expenditure. Okay, so that can also be an argument. Okay, so I hope you understand. You see the budget from a different perspective. Yes. See, probably there might be a very strong political compulsion also. They didn't even mention the word properly, agriculture and all those things in the budget, or they didn't discuss why. Farmers are already very angry on the agriculture related stuff. So if you provoke the discussion, unnecessary attention might come to the government. One reason. But for whatever reason, they have decided to spend a good amount of money on capital expenditure. This is where lies, damn lies, and statistics come into the picture, right? Okay, out of this 7.5 lakhs, what happened to the 0.5 lakhs? Air India losses have been written off. Already out of the 7.5 lakh capital expenditure, 50,000 losses of Air India is Fasak. No? So technically, how much are we spending? Right? Then Air India have brothers and sisters. Okay, we also have discoms, right? All these are money guzzlers. Out of the 300 plus public sector enterprises, only 25 are, I think less than 50 should be in profit. I don't remember the number. 200 are in losses. All of them are white elephants. Okay, so place, and we are a country where time and cost overruns are very common. Time and cost overruns. That means we want to construct a dam, bridge, airport, or whatever. It will take a decade more than what is planned. Okay, that will double, triple the cost of the entire project. Time and cost overruns. Okay, environmental clearance, land reforms. Okay, acquisition of land. labor reforms. Okay, so these are also problems. Yes or no? I have given permission to construct a highway, but environmental activists came and said, this is a protected area. Pratham, the entire Gati Shakti, last Gati. Yes or no? Yes. Then we are not even talking about the elephant in the room, that is non-performing assets. Who will fund all these things? Government cannot, create money out of thin air, right? Government has to procure money from banks or private partnership, public-private partnership. Even they have to do it from banks or venture capital, long-term capital. Okay. See, short-term capital cannot fund long-term capital. This we have discussed earlier also. Your salary money cannot be used for 15-year projects. Your mutual fund money can be used for 15-year projects, but people are not willing to invest in mutual funds. Okay, and even the mutual funds won't be successful. Say, for example, I'm asking Umang to give 10 crore rupees as a fixed deposit for constructing a airport. Okay, so many people like Umang gave money for airport, but that airport is supposed to be completed in 2 years. For the next 8 years, it will run in profits. Okay, it will make huge amount of money. Then I will give her returns. This was the plan for 10 years. The airport took 4.5 years to complete. Okay, see, again, I'm not saying we are that inefficient. Hypothetically, it takes 4.5 years to complete the airport. Then your plan is not going well. Not just 4.5 years or 5 years. Yeah. So there are a lot of problems. NPA is a problem, right? Then assuming monsoon will be natural, normal. Agriculture is a very, very important component because rural economy thrives on agriculture. So monsoon will also play a huge role. So you get the logic, right? So financing of investment is also a huge amount of issue, right? Next, one more thought process is we have improved our fiscal deficit to 6+%. Okay, we are agreeing that we will be spending huge amount of money on fiscal deficit. So fiscal deficit increases means borrowing and interest have increased. Why this is important? If you see the way rupee goes to, out of every rupee that Indian government makes, 20 paisa is going into interest payments. Whose interest? The interest, the money borrowed by previous governments, the money borrowed by Vajpayee, Manmohan Singh, Indira Gandhi, everybody we are paying now. Okay, so all of them have spent on revenue expenditure. Their fiscal deficits are being paid by Modi's government, right? Now, Modi government is increasing this to, let's say, 26 paisa. Okay, that's not a bad thing if that extra 6 paisa that you have borrowed this time is creating 30 paisa or 40 paisa for the economy. Okay, then happily we can pay back. We can not only pay back that 6 paisa, we can even reduce this to 14 or 15%. Slowly we can make more money and solve the old debts. Courageously is on 2022 we are borrowing money to create an economy which will grow like this. How am I funding this bump? Through fiscal deficit, through increased borrowings. Okay, if it goes like this, nobody should have a issue. But if it flatlines because of some reason, then what will happen? You did not make any money, plus you have improved your percentage. Your burden has increased. Your demographic dividend will not help you. They will become a demographic curse, burden, disaster. You get the idea? Right? So the intentions are all perfect, nice, but there are also a lot of pitfalls. And Indian bureaucracy is smart enough to manage it at central government level. At central government level, we definitely have to appreciate the government because they are laying roads, they are constructing highways, dams, whatever they are promising, they are doing from their part everything correctly. Okay, but when the money trickle down to state governments, that is not reaping the rewards. Okay. And as much as we scrutinize the central government budgets, nobody is scrutinizing the state government budgets. Only PRS website keeps this state government budget summaries. Okay, and nobody reads them. So in the prelims, the questions might be like this: Indian fiscal deficit has always been under 4%, or it is continuously growing. Is Indian fiscal deficit continuously growing? No, we are rising and falling. Here we have risen, here we are falling, here we are rising, risen, again falling, falling. So probably we will again bring it to 3%. So fiscal deficit is very, very important thing for the economy. That means less the fiscal deficit, more efficient the government is. Okay.
Sir,
Yes, please.
sir, now you mentioned that less the fiscal deficit, more it is better. But if the fiscal deficit is more and we are spending on capital expenditure, isn't it good, sir?
It is definitely good if the capital expenditure is actually creating more amount of money. If I am borrowing 100 rupees, okay, I should make 120 rupees, then only it's worth borrowing that 100 rupees. If I am borrowing 100 rupees and I'm making 90 rupees, so I not only created a 10 rupees unnecessary headache, okay, and I wasted my time also. Yeah. So in that sense, fiscal deficit in the present juncture is 100% justified. See, we are playing a risky game. So in that sense, I totally support the government's decision to increase the fiscal deficit, assuming everything will go fine, hopefully, because even they know if it's not now, never, right? So yeah, it's totally accepted at the present juncture to have high fiscal deficit.
Okay.
Right. So this is an important chart for prelims perspective also. Try to remember all these things. Your income tax is less than GST. Your corporation tax is also less than GST. Okay. And your union excess duty is 7%. Excess duty is laid on what? Excess duty. Excess duty is laid on what? That is customs. What is excise duty? Petrol, alcohol, diesel, or what? Excess duty is laid on what?
One thing is I know petrol, sir, but I don't know the technical term that is used for that.
Okay. Manufactured
No,
goods.
that's GST, right?
So how much paisa is being made by government only from taxes?
Around 50 to 53.
Right? So 50%. That means every rupee that government is getting, out of more 50% is coming from taxes. Okay. So the rest is from other activities. Whereas if you see the expenditure part, most of them is revenue in nature. Defense is revenue. Subsidies is revenue. See, this is why Ashok Gulati keeps coming again and again in Indian Express and starts writing, government has to reduce the expenditure on subsidies, fertilizers, gas, agriculture. Why? We are spending the same amount of money on defense and subsidies. So subsidies have to be reduced or at least made more efficient. Central sector schemes, central sponsored schemes. Is it revenue? Is pension revenue?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So whatever I have marked, all of them are revenue or what?
They are revenue in nature.
Right?
Interest payments. more or less.
So you understand the logic. So the government has to have a lot of expenditure. You cannot run a system without having all these bare minimum expenditures. See, this is like safety net. You cannot not have a system without Narega. India can never have a non-Narega year. It will literally collapse the rural economy. So India have two types of expenditures. One is maintenance, to just keep the things at a status quo. Okay, so whatever government has announced in this year budget, like health, education, Narega, Ayushman Bharat, whatever revenue schemes, subsidies, everything is to maintain status quo. That means if India is like this in social area, if I remove any of these things, it will fall down. Okay, so Narega is needed to maintain the rural economy. If rural economy is even growing at 2% also, we need Narega to maintain that 2%. So this should not become a problem. Or you can think of two analogies. One is like this. Slope. Okay, two cars are struck. Okay, car 1, car 2. On the slope. They're stuck on the slope. They're supposed to go here from here. Okay, so what government is doing is, it is putting a stopper, a block here. Okay, that is bare minimum amount on Narega, minimum amount on health, minimum amount on education. That means it will make sure that this particular vehicle is not sliding down. Why? It takes extra energy to push it back. Okay, so you maintain it at the present level. This is capex. What is government trying to do? It is trying to add extra boost so that when it comes here, if it is moving ahead, okay, it will also take this along with that. So instead of spending equal amount of petrol on the social sector and overall development, why not put extra petrol in overall development? That might give extra boost to the bigger vehicle. So it might come here. It might also take it along with it. You get the idea, right? So health, education and all these things, make sure it is at status quo, whereas the overall development give extra boost. Okay, if the extra boost doesn't work out, then we will think about it, but at least it will push something to somewhere, right? So you see, the beauty is synergy. Synergy means
Both of them combining and moving ahead together.
both of them combining and moving ahead. We don't know how things will work out, right? Anything can happen. That is synergy. So we are expecting a 21 lakh return, hypothetically. Okay, we might actually get 50 lakh return. Who knows? We don't plan the upper limit, right? We cannot plan the upper limit. That is the beauty of synergy. Anything can happen. You wanted to read Lakshmikant in 6 days. You read it in 3 days. Why? Synergy. You and your friend are discussing very nicely. From morning to evening, you are in that zone of Lakshmikant, quality. Okay, synergy happened and magically you are able to complete Lakshmikant in 3 days. It not even in the dream you thought, you can actually complete it in 3 days. But these things happen. Then there might be a day where you can complete it in 6 hours. Synergy. So the power of synergy is it keeps accumulating. Once you enter the zone of synergy, anything is possible, right? And the outcome is not even planned. So I think if this capital expenditure can create a synergy in the economy, if it solve all the bottlenecks in the system, right? Let's say we have stopped the special economic zone. We are creating a plug and play zone. Some foreign companies coming into India and it is citing a old law. This is a hurdle. The government might be willing to cut that old law. More synergies might be broken. More synergies can be created. So if we have a system which is willing to change, and if there are people who are pushing the system to change, anything can happen. That kind of synergy is what is expected of the budget. Okay, so that is how you are supposed to look at the entire budget and survey scenario. Okay, right? Yes, any questions? See, the PIB summary, nothing else is needed. So this is nothing but a PIB summary document. I have just highlighted the important technical terms. Okay, you are supposed to know the technical terms. Tomorrow we will discuss this document so that we will get a lot of prelims questions. And it will also help you revise the Indian economy basics. Okay.
So digital currency is based on consumer sentiments or market sentiments?
It's not a share market, right? Why will it have any sentiment?
I mean the prices of the digital currency fluctuates on the basis of what?
Market sentiment.
Not consumer sentiments.
I mean, how do you differentiate that?
Actually, we had a question yesterday.
Okay, it's a consumer sentiment then, technically speaking. So again, market or consumer, how do you differentiate? For example, in larger picture, it should be like market sentiment. Because market is deciding. Who is market? Group of consumers. So technically speaking, fluctuating, not an individual, right? It's the entire market that is changing the share price. But see, again, there are two things. Digital currency is official. It doesn't have any fluctuating value. Digital assets have fluctuating value. Indian rupee in CBDC form, that's all. Indian rupee is now going to change its form into CBDC. That's all. Nothing. That is digital currency. The rest of the things are digital assets. Bitcoin is a digital asset. Digital asset can fluctuate. Rupee is nothing to do with market. Got it?
What is blended capital? Blended capital.
Blended capital. Bringing in multiple sources of income, right? Blend means mix. Anything else? No? Tomorrow we'll discuss the economic survey and budget highlights more thoroughly. See, you need to have that macro picture on why you are reading what you are reading. So the questions will be on the application part. The questions will be about what are the problems in PPP. Nobody is going to ask you how government is going to make the Gati Shakti work. What are the problems in implementing Gati Shakti? That is PPP. So what is the committee report that you are supposed to remember when you say PPP? Vijay Kelkar committee report. Okay, Vijay Kelkar committee report.